Good evening and welcome to the first Northamptonshire Chiefs Chat. I'm Danielle Stone. I'm your Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner. I'm sitting here with the Chief Constable of Northamptonshire. Ivan, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone and welcome to our first Chiefs Chat, and thank you for all the questions that came in before. Yeah, I'm Balhatchet, Chief Constable of Northamptonshire Police.
And we have got lots and lots of questions. Thank you so much for everybody who've sent some in, and we're getting some live as well. We've had over 100 sent in. We're streaming now to our Facebook pages. That's Northamptonshire Police and Northamptonshire Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, and live to the Northamptonshire Police channel on YouTube. If we can't get through all your very many and very interesting questions, we will get back to you as soon as we can with the answers to your questions. We just have one rule for tonight, really, and that is please don't raise any casework with us. We wouldn't deal with casework in a public arena. I hope that's okay with you. So now we're going to make a start, and I'm going first because I've had 4 questions in asking about the role of the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner. It's a really valid question. The questions are, why are we spending our money on a commissioner? What does a commissioner do? Is there any value to having a commissioner? So I thought I would begin this evening by giving you some of the answers to that. So commissioners are about the democratic accountability for the public. It's my job on your behalf to hold the police through the chief to account. I have one-to-ones with the chief, and I have an accountability board where we look at the data coming in around policing, and we ask the chief and his senior leadership team to account to us for that data. I'm also accountable myself to a democratically elected Police, Fire and Crime panel, and we meet fairly regularly, and they hold me to account on your behalf. What's really important to me about my role is the community. I represent the community. I was elected. I need to know what the community are experiencing out in the neighbourhoods and in the rural villages, and I need to know what they want from their police service and from their police force and their fire service. I can't do that unless I talk to lots and lots of people. So I'm out and about in the community a lot. For me, that's about building trust and confidence. We want the public to feel confident in their police and to trust them to do the job that they want to do. I've also got statutory responsibilities. So I'm responsible for the Victims and Witnesses Service. I have to produce a public safety plan, which you can find on the web. I'm responsible for agreeing the budgets for the police force, the fire service, and for my office. And of course, I am responsible for hiring the chief. I've also got convening powers, which is really, really important. So I use my convening powers to organise round tables on different themes, but crucially to organise a public safety board, which includes all the chief execs from the county. You can find out much more information about the role of the Commissioner and the role of my teams from my website. But I'm going to leave that there for the moment, and I'm going to go straight to the first question around roads, and I'm going to ask Ivan to pick that up.
Thank you, Danielle. So, like I said, we've had a lot of questions come in. It might not surprise a lot of you that actually a lot's been said about and asked about roads, road safety, speeding, parking, e-bikes. So I did want to go through some of these because it is something that's a real priority of ours. We'll just start here. Too many people are seriously injured on our roads. Too many people die on our roads, and we want to make our roads in this county as safe as we can be. I've got some questions here in terms of speeding vehicles in different villages, about 20 mile an hour speed limits as well. We've got a few on them in different villages across the county. But if I went through all of them, I've got questions on speeding and antisocial driving on the A43 in Northampton, in Brixworth, in Hargrave, Chelveston, Kingsthorpe, Findon. So obviously I'd love to go through, and we would, every individual question, but we can't. So we're going to try and theme them in response to this. In terms of enforcing the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. More and more have appeared over our county. So actually, to get a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, or if you're interested in it, you can actually do that through your parish council or local authority, and to lobby in respect of that. And like I say, we are getting more and more of them. What's meant to happen with 20-mile-an-hour speed limit areas, they're meant to have some design with it that actually tries to prevent traffic going over the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. We do have, obviously, road safety vans as well that can be called to areas where you think speeding is, whether it's in a 20 or a 30. You know, I myself have seen speed vans just outside new 20-mile-an-hour zones in our county. But what we have done recently, and I want to give an overview here in terms of roads policing. So not long ago, our roads policing team was a regional response. We've now brought all our resources back locally. So we've got a roads policing team that is locally policing our roads 24/7. We have a safer roads team as well that goes out. You will see them in their vans in terms of not just speeding, it's around mobile phone use and other traffic issues. Myself and Danielle are really keen on investing in and working with local partners about getting more static cameras across our county, which I think is really important. Actually targeting the red routes, because a lot of the questions that have come up today about red routes across our county, I know a lot of them in terms of car speeding, motorbike speeding. Actually, we need to do more about knowing where our red routes are and using technology, artificial intelligence, not just around the speeding, but the standards in terms of driving and how we can prevent that. And again, it is working with partners. Myself and Danielle were with the Northamptonshire Safer Roads Alliance just the other week. That's a really important partnership across Northamptonshire. What do they do as a group? Where they look at awareness campaigns, they look at working with schools in terms of education and driving training, also about designing out routes that are unsafe and reported by the public. There's also a big piece around enforcement. And believe me, we do a lot of police enforcement. We do prosecute a lot of offenders for speeding, bad driving. We do seize an awful lot of vehicles across the county. So I just want to give you that reassurance. We are out there and doing our best in respect of that. We also have a specialist unit for serious road collision unit, which is a team of specialist officers doing their best in terms of investigation around when we serious injuries. Okay, Danielle, is there anything else you want to say about roads in respect of that?
We had, excuse me, I'm just coming to the end of a cold. I'm trying really hard not to splutter all over Ivan.
Do you want me to take the next one? It's fine.
We had 18 fatalities in the first 6 months of this year, which is 18 too many. So me and Ivan are agreed that what we want to pursue is Vision Zero, no deaths on our roads, no fatalities. And we want to work with all our partners to make sure that we can put that into practice. So we held our first road safety roundtable last week. We're working with highways to see how we can design out traffic accidents. But we want to work with parishes and local authorities in terms of getting people to adopt the right behaviours on the road, which is about respect for themselves and respect for each other, isn't it?
In terms of some of the questions that come in, where do we place our speed camera vans? Look, just to reconfirm to all of you, it is based on some science. We do it in terms of reports, analysis on, where accidents have happened, where reports have been of speeding motorists, where reports of bad driving has occurred. And our speed camera vans try to go out there to actually target those areas, like I say, in a scientific way with evidence based behind them. They're not just out there to make money. They're there, as they said, the road safety camera team are there to keep our roads safe, as is our roads policing team in respect of that. Again, try to dispel a myth. We've got a question here about where does all the money go in terms of what we generate from the speeding tickets we get from our vans. Look, once again, this goes back into a central government department. money does come back to us, but that then goes into driver awareness, speed awareness training. So again, I just want to give you, there's an ethical model around this. It isn't about us trying to just prosecute motorists. It's based on science, and actually, like I say, goes back into the government, also comes back to us to do speed rehabilitation, speed training for different people.
Can I just pick up a question that we've had around parking? We've had quite a few questions around parking, particularly parking around schools. If I give just one example of what could happen, we know parking around schools creates a hazard for children and for pedestrians. It's something that's really concerning an awful lot of residents. For me, that's a multi-agency problem. I think in order to sort those things out, we need lots of different people around the table. We need the schools, the residents, highways, neighbourhood policing, people from my team, to have a look at the problem and see what some of the solutions are. So if I give you an example, I had a meeting with Bridgewater residents yesterday, and my team are organising a meeting using that multi-agency approach, looking at problem solving in that area. And I think if we can use that as a pilot, if you like, to see if we can do that in other areas too, that'll be really, really helpful.
Okay, just in terms of a live question, I think.
A live question to you, Ivan. We have a live question to you, Ivan, which is about speed cameras. All of the fixed site cameras in the county are outdated and so don't work. What is going to be done to update them and get them switched on?
Good question. I did briefly cover it at the beginning, but I'll go over it again. We did have a static camera network for speeding some years ago. We don't anymore. I don't think that's acceptable. Danielle doesn't think that's acceptable. In our county, we should have a proper static network of speed cameras, but obviously technology's moved on. So what we want to, again, working with the local authority and working with other partners, and with the strategic board I mentioned at the beginning, we want to invest in understanding where our red routes are. We've got all that data. What technology can we use with static cameras? Use of artificial intelligence, so it just doesn't do speeding, it just driver behaviour as well. That will complement our road safety team in terms of the road safety camera vans. You can also get much better technology now in terms of artificial intelligence, and they can be moved. So what do we want to see? We want to see a whole road network targeting our red routes, new technology. That will cost a lot of money. So, let's be upfront about it. That's going to cost a lot of money, but we're already speaking about it. We're already talking about it. We're already mapping where we think these cameras could go. And some of the products being used in other areas of the country, so a really good example which we've already looked at in Devon and Cornwall just the other day, which was, looking at not just speeding, driver habits, use of mobile phones. So technology can do so much more. So we need to catch up because, like I said at the very beginning, too many people are getting seriously injured and killed on our roads, and we need to do more with others to actually prevent that.
We also are really keen, aren't we, on improving driving.
Absolutely.
So we do offer lots of opportunities to young people to improve their driving skills and to older people to improve their driving skills. I'm getting the most amazing feedback from the people who've been on those courses with the police. They really, really enjoy them and find them really useful. So we want to do an awful lot more of that as well.
Yeah, thank you. Just to try and cover a couple of individual questions as well around the same theme at the minute in terms of driving and roads. Someone's raised the fact that they're seeing a lot of works vans, etc., with flashing orange lights. Are these legal? Sorry to abbreviate your question. Amber orange flashing lights can be legally fitted to works vans and other non-emergency vehicles. So it's not just emergency vehicles who can have flashing lights. They normally engage with road maintenance, surveys, escorting abnormal loads, that kind of things. They're meant to be a warning to road users in a safety sense. Obviously, they've got to be used appropriately. I'm not sure of the vehicles you keep seeing. I'm hoping they are of a type that are allowed, and they're done for a reason. And quite rightly, people have raised a really important question, annoyance to many people. People who put modifications to their cars that are illegal, let's just be right out there, in terms of loud exhaust, other issues, and then we also find, don't we, in the county, that sometimes we have what we call organised car meets. We have specific operations with our response teams and our road policing teams to actually understand where they're going to happen, to try and disrupt them. And believe me as well, we prosecute people where we can do, education in other areas as well. I'd like to emphasise again, we do actually prosecute people for illegal vehicles or illegal modifications. We do seize vehicles in the county for the very same thing as well.
And recently, 8 were picked up, weren't they? There
They
was an
were.
operation where 40 vehicles were stopped and 8 were picked up.
Eight were seized, and we do it on a regular basis. But I do understand if you see here one of these cars and they're near you, or you see a car meet that can suddenly have numbers of vehicles turning up, it causes you distress, anxiety, antisocial behaviour. We do our best to tackle it.
Can we go on now
Yes.
to e-bikes and scooters?
Yes.
I know the public are really, really concerned about e-bikes and scooters, and you get a general impression that people feel unsafe walking along their own pavements or going along their own roadways near home, or when they're going out to the shops or going to work. It's become quite a serious issue, hasn't it?
It has. So, in terms of e-scooters, let's be clear, and we see more of them around. I'm not blaming anyone else. This isn't about blame at all. In terms of what we do in terms of antisocial behaviour and seizing e-bikes as well, we do that. Our neighbourhood policing teams do respond to calls around antisocial behaviour use around e-bikes. There is a gap in the law, overdue legislation. So e-bikes, the use of e-scooters, and that kind of technology is prohibited at large, but they can be sold. What people will notice in this county is we have a lot of VOI e-bikes about, because that's part of a government trial. So therefore, VOI, as I understand it, actually ensure those people who use them should have a driving licence. And again, that's part of a government trial that's going across many different counties within the country. Primarily, our neighbourhood policing teams try to enforce action against, those that are reported driving illegally, antisocial behaviour related to them, and that kind of thing, as well. Also, response vehicles will respond if they see one and they see people using them inappropriately. We do continue working with VOI. We do have a good working relationship with them. I think there's a lot of principles around what VOI are trying to do is quite key. And you do see in some other countries, I'm going to say it, where e-bikes can be used in a very safe, in a very, that's really useful for young people getting to work and that. But obviously we have more work to do because they're not always being used as they should. Legislation on the whole around e-scooters, as I say, has some way to catch up with us. But to reassure you, we don't ignore reports of
and we have an issue,
behaviour.
don't we, about the infrastructure not being appropriate really for scooters, and we would like to work with partners to deal with that one as well, wouldn't we?
Yeah, there are an awful lot of questions on e-bikes and e-scooters. We don't ignore them, and yes, we do want your reports in relation to them.
If I go on now, Ivan, to some questions that have come in that really aren't about policing, are they? They're about highways. So we've had questions about speed limits at Clopton, street lighting, and safe exits. So those are all local authority issues, really. Street lighting is a local authority issue, and speed limits are a local authority issue. So please do get in touch with your councillors with those questions.
In terms of, there is one specific, is street lighting still timed in certain areas to save money? Is this going to change? We speak to local authority about this as well. We have an opinion on that. I believe it is in places still timed. I couldn't tell you exactly where. It's not something we personally support. We work with local authorities about how they in terms of that conversation and how we move forward.
So if we move on then to looking at some of the questions around antisocial behaviour.
Yeah. First of all, you've got here, what is the police force's approach to tackling antisocial behaviour in our community? And we've got, probably one of the biggest subjects we've had is antisocial behaviour and road safety and roads policing in terms of what's come in today. And we both understand that antisocial behaviour affects people's lives. It ruins the quality of life if you've got repeated antisocial behaviour near you. We try and do everything we can to prevent that, again working with the council and others to try and prevent this and also design things out, because obviously antisocial behaviour can come in many forms. Can be done around locations, around people, around the environment, around vehicles. I'd just like to give some reassurance about what we've tried to achieve with our neighbourhood policing teams. We have almost trebled the amount of neighbourhood policing officers we had only 2.5 years ago. You will now see, if you have access to our website, you will be able to put your postcode in and actually be able to look at who's in your local neighbourhood policing teams. Within our website as well, there's ways to report antisocial behaviour as well, straight to your teams. We have an antisocial behaviour response in all of our towns, and over the summer we've had our Safer Streets Summer Initiative, and hopefully people have seen officers out and about doing operations, yes, making arrests, yes, doing other things around diversion and education. Specific focus as well around our town centres, not just antisocial behaviour but retail crime as well, which we're proud of, and hopefully people have seen that. And myself and Danielle like to experience some of these issues, so especially around the town centre. Myself, Danielle, has visited just about every town centre in the county, walked about, seen some of the issues, actually experienced in plain sight, and I'll go back to Northampton, in plain sight, people clearly with significant drug and alcohol issues in the town centre, causing issues and making the place unsafe for everyone using that town centre. Operation Workforce in Northampton Town Centre came on the back of that. That was 10 weeks of action, but then more activity that actually prolonged that operation. So it isn't just a one-off. And again, much activity has been done in respect of that.
And I'm going out tomorrow to see 2 of our new antisocial behaviour officers in Northampton Town Centre. So I'm really looking forward to that. But we realise, don't we, Ivan, that we can't just pick people up and bang them in prison for antisocial behaviour. We've got to deal with the causes of it.
Absolutely.
So we are looking at working again with partners to intervene and support people out of their drug and alcohol addiction lifestyles into a better lifestyle with antisocial behaviour. And there's a lot that we can do, I think, to divert people away and get them on a better track for a better life, isn't it? And that's what we really want to see.
Absolutely.
And another live question coming in.
Another live question. We've had, please could the young gangs with the e-scooters and balaclavas in Rushton be looked into in how the police can protect other school kids and the elderly? We've now set up a group which liaises with the town round table that we need urgent police walking the beat.
Thank you very much for that question. A really live question with a really live issue, and I really understand the problem. I am hoping that neighbourhood policing is going to have a big impact there. What do you think, Ivan?
No, absolutely. And a specific area has been highlighted there. And I've got to say, I will say Rushton's come up in quite a few of the questions. I know that the local policing teams works really hard to try and... What we try and do with antisocial behaviour is sort of problem solve, understand where it's coming from, the issue, so we can actually prevent it, but actually stop it ever happen again for a long term, not just going in and then moving away and disappearing. I think there is something come out in terms of Rushton which I do want to take away from tonight as a Chief Constable, because it's come up a few times. I do know a lot of activity is going on. So what I want to do in terms of Rushden is take this away and understand a bit more about what's happening there, speak to the neighbourhood policing team, and hopefully get back to residents of Rushden and the local community about what else we can do in Rushden and the neighbouring areas.
One of the things that needs to happen, isn't it, Ivan, that we need to understand what is driving that behaviour and what the needs of those young people are. And we need, again, to be working with partners to make sure those needs are properly met.
Yeah.
I'm really encouraged that the government is about to put money into youth hubs. I think that might be quite helpful.
Absolutely.
I know that they've just agreed to reinstate education maintenance grants to help young people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds stay at school instead of leaving school at 16. And I think there are other measures that are being brought in which are going to help support young people and their families. So I'm hoping that's going to have some impact. But in the meantime, we really do need to support the residents, don't we? And help them with that problem in Rushden. Thank you for those questions.
In terms of outreach to the community, we do try to do a lot more in terms of, we do have what we call our beat buses that try to get out across not just our towns, but our villages as well. Danielle's already spoken about the investment we're putting into new antisocial behaviour. Warden, in that respect, actually working with schools is so important, and young people, and it's something we might come on to later, but we have got into many schools, launched a programme that comes from the West Yorkshire area called Police Education, PolEd, which is working with numerous schools about, yes, antisocial behaviour, but also other things around drugs, alcohol, knife crime, trying to touch thousands of young people in terms of trying to work with the youngest people so they understand the consequences and actions, and because it is all about prevention. But our neighbourhood policing teams are working tirelessly to work and prevent antisocial behaviour across our county.
Thank you very much. Would you like to go on and talk about retail crime? Because we've had some big successes there, haven't we?
Retail crime we have. Now, this is something where I've got to say I'll go back in terms of retail crime, and we had a whole policy review about what we're doing, how we're supporting our retail crime initiative, how we're working with our retailers within town centres. And, I will say I thought we had some policies there that weren't right. For example, we were putting monetary value on thefts in terms of when we would investigate and when we wouldn't. I thought that was fundamentally wrong. We shouldn't be picking and choosing what we investigate. It should be done on the circumstances of each crime and individual. And we knew we'd lost some of the confidence of our retailers. Our retail crime initiative is an excellent initiative. We work in partnership with them and things like the bid around the county, and a very close working relationship with them, and the Northampton bid, and those who work in our town centres as well. We have now got one of the highest outcome and detection rates for retail crime in the country. I will say our reports of retail crime have also gone up higher than probably nearly any other force. And that shows,
that trust and confidence in policing has gone up amongst retailers, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And this is what we're putting it down to, because before we would have retailers telling us that actually they've given up reporting, they're not reporting crimes anymore. We've made it much easier for them to report now. We try and target prolific offenders who are actually targeting our retail shops and trying to get them sentences as well. And I will go to one question that asked about what's our link up with the courts and the court system, because actually any shoplifter doesn't get any kind of sentence for the things they do. I'm not going to go over the criminal justice challenges now, and in terms of what people think is punishment, or Danielle mentioned earlier, there's other things about preventing this diversion out of court, stopping these crimes happening, before they occur. So just some examples. We've had many successes just recently. So Rushden, prolific shop thief, 76 weeks in prison. Corby, another one, 8 weeks in prison. Northampton, 50 weeks in prison. Another one in Rushden, 9 theft offences. Charged 34 weeks in prison. Another one theft offence, 1 drug offence, 36 weeks in prison. 2 more in Rushden, 12 weeks, 3 weeks. Northampton, 36 weeks. Many others awaiting court results. So what we do, try and do, work with retailers, target our most prolific retailers and make sure justice comes to them. We are keen, though, spoke about it earlier, about artificial intelligence. We are now purchasing, and we'll be open and transparent with you now, we are purchasing our own kit for live facial recognition kit, which we think will actually be very good for combating crime on our town centres, violence on our town centres, all manner of offences, getting much more upfront with technology to actually target those we should be and keeping everyone safe.
I just want to come in there, Ivan, because we have just set up with partners, haven't we, a family court, and we're looking at setting up an intensive supervision court. Both of those things are about helping prolific offenders committing low-level crimes, but prolifically rehabilitate. So in an intensive supervision court, an offender would appear before a judge who would give them tasks to do over a certain period of time that they have to come back and report on. And the whole aim of that is about trying to understand what drives people into crime and what will help them come out of it. So I'm really pleased that we are looking at those 2 things in this county. We've had a question about problem drinkers and druggies in Portland Place, car park, day and night. I know things like that drive residents absolutely mad, don't they? And there's absolutely no reason at all why local residents should be impacted so badly by things like that. So again, I'm really hoping, Ivan, that our neighbourhood policing is going to be really impactful in that area.
Absolutely.
And it will reassure the residents. If they contact their local neighbourhood policing directly, they can take action, can't they?
Which again can be done on our website. And again, you can find your neighbourhood policing team by putting your postcode in on our website. There's some specific ones here on drugs. I already mentioned, myself and Danielle have witnessed, chronic drug abuse, drug addiction. We've seen it on the streets. We know local authorities are going out for commissioning drug rehabilitation services around now. Myself and Danielle are really keen on outreach in terms of making sure we actually work with and really give the support to get people off drugs who really need help. And that intensive outreach is so important to doing that.
And assertive outreach is what we want, isn't it? But Ivan, you'll know that I'm also really interested in how that market is created. Who is creating the market for drugs? Who is it? If the market wasn't there, it wouldn't be a problem, would it? So I think we need to tackle it at both ends, don't we?
Absolutely. And I think we've got a live question.
Yep. Is there support for single families whose children are vulnerable to joining gangs and getting involved with the wrong crowd so they fit in? What support can you offer, and where do we reach out for that support?
Another really, really important question. So I'm really shocked at how vulnerable we have made as a society some of our families and some of our children. I'm really pleased that we are going to be getting 4 new family hubs in West Northants. We've already got family hubs in North Northants. I think that's incredibly helpful, and they will be the first port of call for troubled parents trying to seek advice and get support for their children. But a lot more needs to happen than that. But we do need to hear from those parents. The family hubs do need to hear from you so that they can put in the support that you need.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of initiatives we do. I mentioned before about some of the work we're doing, with schools. In terms of what we call our POLED, police education scheme, we're now 214 schools, I think, have signed up.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, all the way from post-nursery age up to, I think, 18-year-olds as well. 112 sessions have gone out already. I think that's near 9,000 students have been seen. And what do they talk about? Absolutely, how do children keep out of trouble, spot signs of concern, knife awareness, county lines, other things, you know, in terms of hate crime or other issues. This is a real way of us engaging with children and young people at a very young age. We also have our police community support officers and police officers going into schools all the time.
And PolEd also deals with healthy relationships, crucially, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Another live question?
Yeah, interesting question. Would the police support smartphone-free schools due to the danger smartphones facilitate? Other areas in the country are doing this because of the risks, and in many cases, police have supported the initiative.
It's a good live question. In principle, would I support if I was approached about that? Absolutely, I would, in the right way. Obviously, I have a different role to the schools and the teachers, but in terms of a principle of giving young people time away from digital and mobile devices, I think is a good thing, and I would definitely hope to explore that, as would my officers and staff. I don't know what.
And I'm an ex-teacher, so I know the problem really, really well. What I would want to do is work with the schools and with the parents and the young people to come up with a solution. I think the solution might be prohibiting the use of phones during the school day, but I would want to work with the head teachers and the parents on that one.
Absolutely. Just on the theme of young people, you know, we have got a lot of departments as well within Northamptonshire Police, but always, and I keep mentioning the word partnership because it is so important, we can't solve some of the issues in society by working as single agency police on their own. It is about working with our partners in the fire service, our partners in the local authority, our partners in health, our partners in probation, our partners in education, partnership with parents as well, which is so key. So many issues that are being asked about today are all our problems as people who want Northamptonshire to be as safe as it can be, to be the best county, and that's certainly what my mission is and what Danielle's is as well. We've got to work together in terms of that. We have a fairly new partnership child exploitation hub, which looks to actually, yes, prevent, but also bring any children out of exploitation or criminal networks and enterprises, doing some great work in our county. We have our violence reduction unit as well, which is seeing in our county is still too much. One crime around violence and knife crime is too much, but we are seeing over a longer period of time youth crime and violence and knife crime come down in our county, which is welcome. Again, there is a lot more to do. Specifically on drugs, I do want to just address this because we've had a few on it. What can be done about smoking of cannabis in the community, impacting our neighbours? Is marijuana still illegal? Reason I ask, it's pretty much all I can smell in the town centre in Northampton. Can all coppers smell that? Why are drug dealers allowed to stay in their property? Then another one linked to cannabis. Just in terms of property then, we have closed down what you call many drug dens and drug houses with different legislations. Hopefully you've seen them in the media. We do say when we've done it, we've closed down different properties and houses and removed people in terms of antisocial behaviour and drugs. But just a clarification on cannabis use. No, it is not legal. It is illegal. There is no pass or anything like that in this county around the use of cannabis. Obviously, there are different ways of dealing with cannabis use, you know, how much someone has got on them, but obviously, and from your questions tonight, it is a concern. But just to reassure you, it is not ignored by all police, and no, the use of cannabis is not legal in Northamptonshire.
We've had a couple of questions, Ivan, about whether we engage with trauma-informed practice and what we do about childhood adverse experiences. So we do work with a trauma-informed approach, don't we? We do
Absolutely.
Understand that lots of people carry trauma within them. We have a big focus on prevention and intervention with young people, don't we?
Absolutely.
We want to stop them getting into bad habits as early as we possibly can. So we do have teams of people who go out to work with troubled young people as soon as we're alerted to the fact. And those referrals come in from schools and other places, don't they?
Yeah.
I wanted to just take up one question, which is about prostitution and blatant drug taking on Grafton Industrial Estate and surrounding areas. I just want to say that one of the things that my teams do is a lot of prevention work. So I'm going out with teams tomorrow in that area, looking at what all the problems in the area are. So we have a problem-solving approach. We'll be going out with local councillors, with the housing associations, with local people so they will help us identify the problems, and between us all we will come up with some of the solutions, many of which will not be about policing, but they will be about what the local authority can do, what the housing partners can do, what the town council can do, and so on, and what my teams from my office can do in terms of prevention and intervention. And that's helpful for policing, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have specific operations working on that as well,
yes.
to assist.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just on to link back to the adverse childhood experiences, people have asked about what are we doing about it in the criminal justice system as a whole, and also the increasing amount of the adverse childhood experiences. Obviously a complex area. We aren't about criminalising everyone. It's about actually doing the right thing for people, to prevent crime, to make this county safer, to help individuals with police come in contact with those we can help, working with others. A couple of things I really do want to mention, because I think it is important. I think the police are guilty. There's some really good practice what we do in patches, and some amazing officers and staff who do really good engagement with children and young people. I think sometimes we don't always listen as much as we could, and we don't engage as much as we could with young children. So one example is, if we do have children coming into our custody suites after being arrested, absolutely we have provisions in custody, and we look at a trauma-informed approach about how we can give support to young people, how we can understand how they've ended up in one of our cells on that day, because actually people coming into custody, it can provide us time to actually, with the right people, to sit down with young people and children to understand what led them to being there, to understand a bit more about how we can help working with others to prevent crime and to stop them coming back into custody. I think that's really important. Understanding and listening is important. I know with your office as well, we've just done a youth consultation. We have. It's been amazing. Survey. Absolutely.
2,500 young people have been asked their views.
Absolutely.
It was extraordinary.
And so what we do with victim satisfaction surveys is we do lots of them across the county, but it's mainly for adults, you probably know, for over 18s. So we had a gap there. So this consultation survey we've just done, it's for, in essence, 10 to 24-year-olds. And like you say, 2,500 responses. Yes. Not just quantitative, but qualitative experiences. We're going to go through all of that and develop recommendations, aren't we, which I think is really important.
With the young people.
With the young people. I think from it, if you know TripAdvisor, we're getting 3.4 stars from young people, which isn't a bad place to start from, I don't think.
No, I was really pleased with that.
54% satisfied.
Yes.
Lots more to do, but I think this is just a start of what else we can do. And
lots of young people saying they've got confidence in the police, but they need to feel closer to the police in order to be a bit more trusting, isn't it? That's what's come out.
Yeah.
So that was really great.
Hopefully we've said about how we're engaging with schools. The POLED is one, the police education, but we do that all the time with our
And the
And
PCSOs go into
PCSOs,
schools
absolutely.
a lot, don't they?
Yeah, and someone's mentioned the County Schools Challenge. Yeah, great thing that happens every year. I've been to the last two. You were with me one the other time, weren't you?
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
The work the young people do is absolutely fantastic. And for me, what part of the value is all the peer education that goes on around a particular topic. So the year I did it with you, it was around VAWC, wasn't it?
was.
Violence against women and girls. And this year it's been vaping.
Vaping, but we're antisocial behaviour, which is
Yes.
topical for tonight. I do say again, Rushden's been mentioned in another question I've just seen. So again, I'll reiterate something I'm going to take away. We've had a lot of questions about the town of Rushden specifically. I'm not ignoring that. I will have a look at that. Thank you for your questions.
If we go on to the questions now about violence against women and girls, we're being asked what specific programmes are being implemented to educate young people about healthy relationships and respect. This is a hot potato. It's a really important topic. There's lots and lots of work going on in schools and in youth groups using lots of different tools. The best tool, the most popular tool, is the Polar Ed that Ivan has already talked about, because it covers all the different aspects that are of concern to young people. But there's lots of other work going on as well. There's just been 600 young people involved in a youth citizenship 2-day event in Northampton. I think that's absolutely brilliant. We want to hear the voices of young people more and more, don't we? And we want young people to help us shape what comes after to meet their needs. We've also been asked a question about what's being done to educate all males, school work, police force, to understand that women are not there to be raped or abused. Well, let me tell you, we're just about to go into 16 days of activism. So this is a UN project that is taken up in all countries, and certainly is a big thing in Northamptonshire. So that begins on November the 25th and it ends on December the 10th. So on November the 25th, our firefighters are going to be taking a lead because they're going to be signing up to the White Ribbon Project. The White Ribbon Project is about men showing that they're allies of women and they will stand up against violence against women and girls. So that's quite important. We're also just about to launch our Women's Charter. I'm so excited about that. The Women's Charter is going to be asking businesses and organisations, how do they know if the women and girls in their organisation are safe? We're going to provide them with tools so they can survey that and find out for themselves if women and girls feel safe at work, if they feel safe going to work, going home from work, if they feel safe in their own neighbourhoods. And we've already had a lot of interest in that, with businesses stepping up to sign the charter. So I'm really, really, really pleased about that. In my team, and I think you're going to be involved in this, Ivan.
I am.
We're developing a programme which is helping male leaders become allies and help them reshape, if you like, the work that they're doing to make it more woman-friendly, so that we know women are safe in those spaces. So lots of work to be done, but all very exciting.
And just for reassurance in terms of the policing side of this, within our policing strategy, within our policing plan, violence against women and girls will always be one of our priorities to tackle. We have operations across what we call our nighttime economy on our busy nights across our town centre. That looks for concerning behaviours. It looks at trying to keep women and girls safer on our streets. Our live facial recognition investment this is something where we want to target it as well, in terms of those who pose a risk to women and girls in our county. We have some highly trained, specialised officers who deal with our most dangerous people in our community in terms of sex offenders and others. Our public protection teams have grown and have been invested in and will continue to be so we give the best response we possibly can be. Working with licensed premises is so key as well to tackling violence against women and girls. It is about creating what we call safe spaces for women and girls, for women and girls, whether it's on nights out, whether it's people walking to and from work. A lot of feedback we get when speaking to retail and others, a lot of women and girls say they change their route home because they don't feel safe walking back, which can't be right for any place. And we want to be a key part of actually making society safer and safer for
and we're also
women and
putting
girls.
in training, aren't we, for taxi
Absolutely.
drivers, for train operators. We're looking to develop our relationship with Stagecoach so we can train the bus drivers. And that's all about spotting the signs of abuse and intervening safely when it's safe to do so.
Absolutely. Hate crime, do we
So
want to...
we're on to hate crime now. So we've got a question here about the role of police in monitoring hate crimes in our area and addressing the rising tensions that are being stoked by the far right in our country. And the question goes on to say, I've heard that immigrants and people working with immigrants in our communities say they're living in fear because of the rhetoric and displays of flags signalling they're not welcome in our communities. I imagine our Jewish neighbours are similarly living in fear after these recent attacks. The question is, how do you see the role of the police in not only addressing hate crimes once they happen, but in preventing them in the first place? So if we take those two parts of that question, the prevention of hate is everybody's business, in actual fact. We've just had the most amazing Diwali celebration in Northampton Town Centre on Saturday. On Friday in Wellingborough, there was an interfaith Diwali celebration. It showed to me the strength of our diverse communities and the huge, enormous contribution they make to our lives in Northamptonshire. And I'm very proud to be a part of all of that. So I see this, as everybody's responsibility to stop the hate and bring back hope in our communities. But there is a role for policing, isn't there? One of the issues for me, Ivan, is I think when it's a hate crime, it's really clearly a policing matter.
Yeah.
What worries me is when there's multiple hate incidences and it's not actually a policing matter.
Yeah.
What do you think we should be doing about that?
You're quite right. So in terms of anything we deem as a hate crime, that's a policing matter, and we'll deal with that as best we can. With hate incidents, what we've got to understand is there are different I don't want to get into the different classifications for different kinds of incidents. What we want to look at, though, and why hate incidents can be important, because they can build up a picture of what's happening in a community. Now, that doesn't mean that someone reports something as a hate incident where we're going to automatically react to it as a police service. We've got to be proportionate. We've got to do things that are lawful. But actually, sometimes that can build up a picture of something's happening, and we might need to actually take some action, or with other partners again, in terms of.
We want the information, don't we, so that we know what's happening, and we can be alert to the fact that there might be an escalation.
Yeah, and there's a question here about what are we doing about raising tensions and how do we know what's happening. Well, we do monitor, and let's all be honest with ourselves. There's been a lot of unrest across, our country recently. We need to do everything we can as a police service working with the community to make sure that Northamptonshire stays a safe place, a peaceful place for everyone, where all communities living here are welcome. So that's what we aim to do. So we do actually monitor hate crime incidents. We do monitor hate incidents. We do try and understand what's going on in the communities. I'm proud of the work our neighbourhood teams do and our community policing teams do with our local communities. Us ourselves have had meetings with various...
We've had lots of meetings, haven't we? Round tables with all different sections of the community, and they've been really valuable, haven't they?
Yeah, and we want to listen, we want to be transparent. You know, we ask people who don't take, and this is why we're doing this. I'm not afraid of criticism. I'm not afraid of problems being raised. It's about listening to what they are, understanding what they are, so we can help and have an honest conversation. We also have in the community some great people working with policing in the community with things like our interfaith forum, our independent advisory groups as well. And we work with community colleagues as well about things around stop search. So they'll look at different stop searches that are done by police officers and have a look at them and say, actually, you know, what do they think of how the officer dealt with that, and give feedback. So there's learning there. We also have an internal, external ethics committee as well, which is, again, looks at different policing dilemmas, and some of those go across hate crime and discrimination. There is one here as well. I will address it. Is there any way to find out if the asylum seeker living in a home, office, government paid for house is in your street is a sex offender? Is a sex offender or has a criminal record? No. What we do work with policing, with the local authorities, we understand where asylum seekers are. We work with different agencies with asylum seekers. But to your question, you've asked a specific question. That's a no on that. There is something here about displaying flags. Look, displaying flags, if we're talking about Union flags, Union Jacks, that's not a policing. I'm going to say here, it's not a policing in matter. That is for the local authority. It isn't something I personally want. We should be getting involved with.
We've got a specific question here, Ivan, about hate crimes involving homophobia and bullying behaviours, which are really difficult to evidence but have very serious impacts. Well, we know that's true, don't we?
It absolutely does, and it's hard for people to come forward as well. Vulnerability of that, and then I get it, there's a trust issue still with policing and authorities as well. That's for people of, you know, racist crimes and also homophobic crimes and incidents.
But we also want leaders, don't we? Managers, leaders to take responsibility for keeping people around them safe. So we would expect leaders and managers to have the training that helps them do that. And certainly from my office and within policing, we do a lot of training, don't we, to help people who've got supervision responsibilities to understand all of that.
Yeah, and so much more training than we used to do. And that's from our new recruits, you know, all through to understand vulnerability in society, to understand homophobia, to understand racism, so we can give the best policing response we can and what people deserve, especially those who may not have the confidence in the police because of things that have gone on in the past.
We're going to go on now to some questions that have come in. There's one that I'm going to address. It relates to a case of a local journalist who did contact me, actually, because she thought she was being unfairly treated by the police. And to be honest, I agreed with her, and she was. It's saying in the question that the questioner is disappointed with me because of my inaction. I just wanted to give some reassurance that when I received the information about what had happened, I contacted the senior leadership team straight away, and they dealt with the incident straight away, didn't you, Ivan?
Yeah, absolutely we did.
And we all agreed that it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, an apology was provided. I've got some other ones here. I've got a couple here on retired officer, resident Northampton. The importance of wearing my uniform hat was stressed to me at the beginning of my career. Then there's different thinking about removing headgear when you're dealing with vulnerable people. I've seen police officers outside Campbell Square Police Station in uniform. No hats. Police officers not looking. Look, we should be wearing a uniform standard, you know, that people expect to see. That should be smart. That should be out of vehicles. You should have your hat on if it's appropriate. I would add that bit. I will give some mitigation to officers. Some of our kit we provide them now, and the amount of equipment they have to wear for valid reasons doesn't always make what used to be, let's say, a nice fitting uniform, very smart, you know, in the community. Look, this is an excuse. I get it. Officers should look smart. We have a uniform standard. We should have officers who are out of their cars wearing hats. I do get the message. It is something that actually we've just been reviewing around uniform standards within our police service. And we've got a live question, I think.
We've had a few queries about misconduct hearings. Northamptonshire seems to have had a lot of misconduct hearings. In 2024, there were 34 cases, with more than half resulting in dismissal. Has the recruit team been overhauled and tightened?
Very good question. When I came in as Commissioner, it was one of the issues that I took up with the new Chief, Ivan, because, of course, it's really, really important that we have people in policing that have got the same ethical standards as we do, me and Ivan have, and most of the police force have. And it's really important that our vetting procedures are really robust. It's also important that during the training period for new police officers, that the trainers know what to look for in terms of appropriate behaviours. And we also need to have a practice where supervisors pick up on bad behaviours very early on, before it becomes entrenched. So, Ivan?
Yeah, thanks for raising it. Really important. So, heart of the policing, my policing plan, heart of Danielle's safe and sound plan for the county, trust and confidence. Policing, we police by consent. We have the powers to take away people's liberty. We should be held to the highest accountable standards. We have overhauled our vetting processes. We've invested more people in our vetting teams. We do a lot more checks around vetting now. So that's people coming in and transferring. We've invested and increased the amount of people in what we call our professional standards unit. We have invested and increased the amount of people in our counter-corruption unit. We have increased random drug and alcohol testing and other tests and integrity tests across our organisation over the last 18 months. Yes, I'll be honest with you. I'm always honest with you. We've got more suspensions of police officers than we ever have done before. We're dismissing more police officers than we ever have done before. I think I've dismissed 8 myself just this year. Don't make an apology about any of that. Vast majority, I'm going to say the vast majority of police officers and police staff are brilliant people doing amazing work every day. There's some people though, and this does happen in every walk of life, but again, we should be held to the highest standards of of being the police. There are people who have got into the police service who shouldn't be here. They need weeding out and they need getting rid of. And we do proactive things to find out who are those people who shouldn't be here. We also, there's people here now who shouldn't be here. There's people who have got in before who shouldn't be here. So now what we've tried to do is tighten up our recruitment, tighten up standard around transferees, invested heavily in our misconduct procedure and done a lot of work on training, behaviours, and also different routes for people to report. So this is really important. Sometimes people don't have the confidence to speak out against people, especially if there's a rank issue in terms of supervision or otherwise. So we've developed other confidential reporting routes in respect of that. And again, I will go back to police officers themselves, and I talk about the vast majority. actually, when they read some of the discipline outcomes and some of the dismissals, they're horrified as well that someone who's been working with them has behaved in such of the manners. And they're public readouts. So the ones I talk about who I've dismissed, it's all public. You can look at the whole readout about what occurred there. So hopefully that's the transparency piece around that. One more on one of the different questions, not on the key themes, but it is important. I would like to know why you were not adequately stopping the Northamptonshire hunts. The sabs are being brutally attacked by the huntsmen, not to mention the cruelty to animals that they hunt, but also the hounds. Why are you standing by? It goes on. Okay, I can't stand personally any cruelty to any animal. We have a dedicated rural crime team, but actually it's a business of all my officers and staff to make sure that cruelty to animals and wildlife doesn't happen. We have strong legislation supporting protest within this country. Lawful protest will always be helped appropriately, so that can be done. Some of the things you're talking about here about being attacked and other bits, the crimes you seem to be talking about here. So if saboteurs are being attacked and other things, you've got to report that. You've got to report that, and we need to respond appropriately in respect of that.
And we're developing really great cross-border working, aren't we? So sometimes these hunts cross the borders, don't they?
Absolutely.
And we've got really good cross-border working, so that should be very helpful.
Absolutely. And I think we've got another live question.
Yeah, question. Fraud and cybercrime is rapidly becoming the most frequently occurring crime type and is known to target the vulnerable in society. What approach does police take to help prevent and combat this?
Very, very good question. We all become victims one way or another, don't we?
Yeah. A challenge globally, nationally, for our county, but we don't neglect it. We have a fraud investigation unit who tries to do their best. They've got some specialist trained officers within there and staff who do an amazing job to try and get justice for victims. Also in a lot of education in respect of that, because a lot of this, people are targeted, aren't they, in different ways.
Yeah.
So it's about education of noticing what is fraudulent, whether it's your email or other areas, and being vigilant, and how you look after your password protections on your emails, on your accounts, and all that, on your social media and all that kind of thing. There is a national action fraud setup as well that we work with hand in hand in terms of trying to tackle the most prolific offenders, so we can build up patterns and analysis of who's committing fraud. Working with partners in banking and the financial services is key to this. They do lots of work with us to prevent fraud and crime, but again, and a cybercrime unit, and we use different technology as well to try and investigate these crimes as well. But it is an escalating issue as technology advances. Unfortunately, the criminals will use different methods to target people, and I know that often the vulnerable are targeted in respect of that. It goes back to training of our officers to actually spot vulnerability, but I know also with businesses, I've already mentioned banking and financial services, they have a lot of training as well to spot these kind of warning
But again,
signals.
we've all got a role to play, haven't we,
have.
Ivan? Because people who are really vulnerable are socially isolated
Absolutely,
often, aren't
absolutely.
they? And so it's about, whoever's going into that household, or whoever is a neighbour, or, the parish councils. It's about everybody being aware, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And spotting those vulnerabilities and having, something to say. If they're worried, they can get in touch with the police. If they need training in how to spot or deal with cybercrime and fraud, we can send people out, can't we?
Absolutely.
And another live question has come in. This is really good, isn't it?
How are Northamptonshire using tech like drones and AI in local policing?
Oh, what a lovely question.
Yeah, we touched on it before, but I'll go over again. So we do have, I'm not going to say the number because I I can't remember it. It's not that should I. We have numerous drones now within our cars. We have people who are trained in using drones. We have some very sophisticated and very decent drones. We're going to continue investing in them. We think actually the future lies a lot in this kind of technology. AI, we are really.
You found it really useful in tracking missing people, haven't you?
We have done, but also whether it's following as well vehicles,
yes,
or criminals on foot, or whatever it might be. It's a really agile way of getting about the county, getting out quickly, and having a big peripheral vision around what's going on, and safety events, which is key, used at safety events as well. AI, though, we're looking to explore better ways to give officers on the front line free up time for them. So actually it cuts through bureaucracy, cuts through their paperwork. So actually the AI can help them give hours back to officers and staff. Already mentioned one key one, which has been something I've worked with before in London, is, I'm going to say, facial recognition technology. It's on its way. It's taken too long, but it's on its way, and we're making use of that because it's important we do, because we should be using, the police service, I believe, should be using technology in the right way, proportionately, but actually not to use advanced technology such as AI and facial recognition is neglectful of me as a chief constable operationally. So that's where my stance is. I do get the discussions and debate about people's freedoms and that's a good debate to have, and I know not everyone agrees with that type of technology, but that's the kind of debate we need to keep on having. I've got a responsibility to get on the front foot of people who don't, let's face it, don't abide by rules and the law, criminals, so we have to use tech in a lawful way to actually make our country
And you're
safer.
going to give our scrutiny groups and IAGs the opportunity
Absolutely.
to have a look at it with you, aren't you?
Absolutely.
So they can assure themselves that we're using it, or you're using it ethically,
Yeah.
and pass the message along. I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Another question coming in?
Yeah, someone's asked, how many officers do we have across Northamptonshire per 1,000 of the population, and how we compare with other forces?
Another very good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. If I said to you today, I'm going to say, bro, in a minute, we're going to come on to, got a lot about visibility in policing and Corby. So I just want to give some reassurance about where we're going. And I do get it. People say a lot, don't see a police officer, don't see a PCSO. I used to. When I do see them, they're in a car and they pass by. Right, let's give a perspective on this because it's important. So our population in this county over the last 15 years have dramatically increased.
By 12.5%?
Something like that. 12, I think we're 800,000 or so, around that. Where we're based as well brings its own challenges. M1 coming right through us. We also have London an hour one way, Birmingham an hour the other way. That in itself brings a dynamic to Northamptonshire in terms of its susceptibility to challenge, demand, and sometimes criminality as well. So you asked a specific question. You've asked it, so let's be honest. We've got about 1,500 police officers at the moment.
And you're recruiting.
And we're recruiting, and this is important, we are recruiting police officers all year. We are recruiting PCSOs, police community support officers, all year. We are recruiting police staff all year. Yesterday, I put £1.2 million into pure investments, largely around resources, into different departments across Northamptonshire Police. We are a growing organisation. We are not making redundancies. So in that sense, we're in a positive place and a good position. But our population increase does mean we're about 1.99 police officers per 1,000 population. So there is a challenge there. And I said before about increasing our neighbourhood officers by threefold. We've got to also resource specialist department, response departments. So when people do talk about, and it's not an excuse, when people do talk about visibility in policing, that's the number you're looking at, 1.99 per 1,000 population. It's more than that if you add up all police staff. It's 2.37. In total, Northamptonshire Police is about 2,900 officers and staff. We have some wonderful volunteers working with us as well.
I was going to ask you about that. You call them citizens in policing, don't you?
Yeah, we have a citizens in policing team, and that's all manner of, that includes our special constabulary, which people are probably aware of. We have other people volunteering.
Citizens on horseback.
Citizens on horseback. We get more and more across the county. We have people working on the community safety camera watch schemes, so volunteers who use safety cameras as well. We have other volunteers in other areas who have just got an expertise, their background in their previous careers. You know, they've got skills and they're helping us in all manner of ways across our organisation. So actually, volunteers is about the extended police family. It's about working with the community, and we do, again, more information on our website, or write in and we can point you in the right direction if you would like to volunteer to help us.
Can I just ask you one quick question about whether it's a good idea to report vehicle theft and crime? I've got a question here. Myself and my daughter have been victims of car crime. I've had a window smashed. She's had a wing mirror broken, her car keyed, and now her car has been broken into recently. We did report one of the incidents, but nothing happened. We therefore felt there was no point reporting the rest, as nothing can be done. What would you say to that family?
Look, I apologise. You feel there you haven't had the service that you would have liked or deserved. So that's a sorry from me. Absolutely, you should be reporting crimes to Northamptonshire Police. Can I guarantee we're going to send an officer to you every time a crime's reported? I can't do that. I can't do that. For certain types of crime, absolutely, we should always be sending a police officer. What we try and do is look at the circumstances of every crime and then try and understand what the best way is to try and solve that and give you a service that you deserve. And that might be a police officer. It might be a member of police staff. That might be someone calling you on the phone or via, a virtual meeting with you to go through what's happened. But my appeal to you is, yes, you need to report crime. I said earlier about, I thought it was completely wrong. We put monetary values on what we investigate for retail crime. That's not giving you a service. We never have, I think, before some police services stopped attending some burglaries of people's houses. Never. For me, never is that appropriate. We should always attend burglaries of people's houses. That's a significant crime.
And again, some crimes, there are patterns, aren't there?
Absolutely.
With vehicle crimes, there's often a pattern to it. So we need all the reports to come in, don't we? So you can observe the pattern.
And even if it just is that, and we have a conversation with you, or you put a crime online, and you feel nothing much happens, it does help, because it does give us what Danielle's just said. It gives us a real picture, and everything is recorded and saved, and it's mapped in terms of what's happening. And we can try and then work out, if we got a series of crimes, if we got a series of offenders, and we can target it and prevent it much, much better.
So, Ivan, I'm looking at a lot of questions here about visibility of policing, but I think you've covered that to quite an extent, haven't you? But it just shows to me how important it is that people really do want to see their neighbourhood police out on the beat. They do want to see their PCSOs. They do want to know who to call in times of trouble. Would you just like to quickly go over what you're doing? Yeah, absolutely. So we have, and I get it, I'm sorry, I've mentioned the website a few times, and I do understand people might be with others today who are using, or with family members viewing this or listening to this, and I do realise not everyone has technology, but it is important around our website. Our website now does actually do, it will signpost you to almost everything. Anything you want to report, any help, advice about numerous things in our community. Again, going back to it, will tell you exactly who your neighbourhood team are, neighbourhood team in each of our areas, which again, I'll go back to and say, we've increased.
we are recruiting more PCSOs. It was only a couple of years ago, unfortunately, we stripped back our neighbourhood policing.
Well, I didn't.
You didn't.
Neither did you.
No, it got stripped back previously. We're rebuilding that. It takes time because at the same time I have response teams who are responding to our 999 calls and our 101 calls, who are so busy and are doing their best to give us real good service, responding to emergency calls as fast as they can. Then you have the neighbourhood teams. Then you have all the specialist units. And we've already spoken about roads policing teams, cybercrime, fraud. We've got so many child abuse, sexual abuse. We've got so many different things going on in policing that one of the key things I'm trying to do in the next year is making sure we're actually making sure we've got our resources in all the right places, so actually respond to community needs. So they respond to some things like you're raising here. So that is a massive piece of work we're doing. So we target the right things.
We will be out and about in neighbourhoods. We will continue to do that, and hopefully meet a lot of people. We've got 2 questions from Corby. When will Corby have a real, not a virtual police station? I cannot tell you how much me and Ivan want to see a real police station, all singing, all dancing in Corby. If somebody can find us the land to build on or the building to buy, we'll be very, very happy. Please let us know if you've got any good ideas around all of that. Why aren't all CCTV cameras in Corby working? I think we've already answered that.
Yeah.
The county council, when it was here, Northamptonshire County Council, turned off all the CCTV cameras. They are now completely out of date and defunct. Ivan is working with partners to put back static cameras.
And lots of town centres have their own network.
They do.
And we've been into their control rooms.
We have.
Which are very effective in our town centres. And there's a lot of them on. So believe me, there's a lot of them there. Just in terms of visibility and presence as well. We are looking for policing hubs, police stations, Kettering, Town Centre, Corby.
And Toaster.
And Toaster. And we've opened
Campbell Square
front counter. So I hope people have noticed that. And it's very, very busy. Just want to pick up one for Corby again. Right, a lot of people have reported around off-road motorcycle nuisance. It relates to the other one, it's specific to Corby. Right, there is operations going on all the time in Corby about motorcycle nuisance. We've done around 200, I'm going to read this out, 250 callbacks. We review and have technology to look at evidence, antisocial behaviour and illegal motorcycle nuisance. Over 15 bikes have been seized, a part of what we call Pacify. People arrested. More than another 10 people have been given summons. Other people have been worked with in terms of out of court. We've identified where people are supplying fuels to certain off-road motorcycles. Education has been given to lots and lots of people with around e-scooters, etc. And significant work continues. We have a PC over there who's doing some great work with others. More to do, but just to say...
Always more to do.
Yeah.
And we're nearly out of time, aren't we? And we've got one last live question.
The question, will we have more support for rural communities facing crime issues?
What a lovely question. We've just held our second rural crime roundtable. We're very conscious of the fact that in the rural areas they have crimes specific to them, animal rustling, the theft of farm machinery, all kinds of hair coursing, all kinds of stuff going on. We're also very aware that there are crimes in rural areas the same as crimes everywhere else, so antisocial behaviour, domestic abuse, stuff like that. Our last rural crime roundtable had a presentation on domestic abuse, and we gave out lots of information to people so they know how to handle it in their areas. But we know there's a lot that needs to happen, don't we? One of the really great things is that our rural crime team is always praised, isn't it? We get a huge amount of feedback
Yeah,
about the rural
absolutely.
crime team and about the impact that they're having in dealing with all those difficult issues.
Yeah, and understanding that cross-border criminality as well with our surrounding counties is really important to us as well. So thank you. Look, I think
I'm
we're
sure
nearly
there's going to be
time.
lots more questions, but for me, this evening has been really, really valuable. Thank you so much for all the questions. It's my job to hold the chief to account, so you've helped me greatly. And, Ivan's answer to a lot of your questions are really, really important, aren't they? And I'm really glad that they're out in the public domain and you've got some idea now of how he's working and structuring the police force and trying to meet the needs of the public. It's come over very clearly in the questions that you've asked, that being safe on our roads, being safe in our communities, being safe wherever it is we are, is really important to all of you, and it's really important to us as well. And I think the Chief is really reshaping the force in order to meet those needs in all those different areas. So I'm really grateful for that. I think, 1.99 police officers isn't enough. We would be looking to the government in the future for fairer funding so we get more money in, so we can pay for more officers. But we're doing, or the Chief is doing the best he can with those resources, and important for all of that is going to be the use of AI in the future to make the work of the police force smarter and more efficient and more time effective. So we look forward to that, don't we?
We do. And look, this session is meant to be about us being open, transparent with you. I'll go back to, look, we care passionately about this county, want it to be the best county it possibly can be. We listen to your concerns. And we want to do everything we can to work with you to make this county the best it can be. I've got a vision for this county, making it the safest in our country. I'm going to strive for that. Got to do that with all of you as well. And this is just part of hearing from you. I think we had so many questions coming in. It clearly is a format people are interested in. But we do need, please do, give your ideas on how we can improve this. This was the first one. We can't read out each individual question, unfortunately.
But we have had questions from across the county, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's been really great.
Yeah. So great. We all look forward to seeing you next time. And we will put out the dates and times in due course, I suspect. So thank you ever so much and enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care.
Good evening.